Good evening, everybody.
Hello,
Who is this?
Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, this is Carol Cole.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
We're going to get started in a few minutes. I'm glad you guys can hear me. This is my first foray into the Zoom world.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Really have to eat dinner while I'm listening, so I won't put me in picture.
Okay. That's okay.
Cheryl Friesen.
All right. So you guys can all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Beautiful.
Perfect.
All right. I may have to admit people as they come along, since this is a new thing they had to do to keep the meeting secure. So we're going to get started. First of all, thank you all for joining me tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janine Jozwiak, and I'm the clinical director at Nature's Balance Acupuncture. I'm also the owner. And our goal is to help as many people as possible achieve optimal health. So a little history about me. Back when I was 14 years old, I had heard about Nixon going to China, and that his press secretary had had an appendectomy, and they used acupuncture for anesthesia as well as for pain relief afterwards. And this kind of resonated with me. It just made sense that there was a way to maintain and heal our bodies differently than using Western medicine. So about 20 years ago, I kind of came out of, I had been working at Sears, and I started my journey into alternative healthcare. I became a Reiki master. I trained in animal communication and various other healing modalities, general health topics. And finally, in 2002, I left Sears. I started school at Midwest College of Oriental Medicine in acupuncture. And I graduated summa cum laude, and I became licensed, took my national boards and became licensed as an acupuncturist in the state of Illinois. Before opening my practice, though, I spent a year following my sensei, my acupuncturist sensei or master, and Dr. Tan. And once I attended every class that he had offered, I knew it was time for me to open my practice. So I did in 2007. And since then, I've been continuing to hone my skills and get advanced training in, things like cosmetic acupuncture, functional medicine, color and light therapy, herbology, nutrition, or, much and everything under the sun, basically, iridology even. And for me, I find the whole topic very interesting and fascinating, and I love helping people achieve their best self. So on to the topic of today that everyone is so interested in. That's about your immune system. It's a very hot topic. So we're going to kind of give you a good overview about immunity and how you can help improve your immune system. So, yep, didn't want to do that. So, basically, what is your immune system? Well, it's a various parts of your body, the cells and organs, they all combine together to work together in order to fight off what in Chinese medicine we call foreign invaders. So there's various parts of the immune system: the white blood cells, the antibodies, the complement system, the lymphatic system, the spleen, the bone marrow, and the thymus. And they all work together as a team, each doing their part to be able to fight off those foreign invaders. So the immune system is really kind of a silent partner. It's under the covers. It's working under the covers. It's working in the, we don't know it's working. We don't know how well it's working. For example, we listen to our heart. We know how fast it's beating. We know how hard it's beating. We know it's working. But our immune system, we have no clue as to what it's doing. But believe you me, 24/7, it is protecting us against thousands and thousands of deadly attacks every single day. So it's really our defense system. So there's a first line of defense, and that's our innate immunity. Now, what is an innate immunity? It's what we're born with. Our innate immunity is able to tell us, it knows the difference between what is us and what is not us. And what is not us is a foreign invader, and it's going to attack it and get rid of it. So it's very non-specific. It's very broad and very general. It can ward off against various pathogens, viruses, bacteria, fungus, worms, those types of things. And the innate immunity is made up of a couple components. It's made up of the physical barriers, and it's made up of chemical barriers. So physical barriers are something like the skin, where it actually stops the invader from getting in. The chemical barriers are those things that can actually destroy that invader and just get rid of it. Okay, first, the protective barriers. So as I said, just think about the skin as if it's a plastic shield like you see in front of the cashiers nowadays, or the plastic shields that you wear over your face. Well, that's what we walk around with every single day, all day long, is this protective barrier, and that's our skin. And in our protective barrier, there's a couple things that help protect us. One of them is fatty acids. The others is enzymes. So one of the fatty acids is actually oleic acid. Oleic acid is found in olives. So bone up on those olives. And it can actually kill various bacteria. And then there's an enzyme in the skin also called lysozyme, and that can actually break down the outer barrier of the bacteria. So what happens is that the enzyme comes in, breaks down the barrier, the outside barrier, and then the oleic acid comes in for the kill. So I like to make sure that my skin has a lot of oleic acid in it. And so I always have 1 tablespoon of oleic acid a day. I just chug it down of good olive oil. So I get a good quality olive oil and take 1 tablespoon every day. Now, say the invader gets past this external barrier of the skin and it gets into the body. Well, now we have an internal barrier, and it's called mucous membranes. The mucous membranes line our respiratory system, our GI system. And basically what it does is that invader will get trapped in those mucous membranes. Just think about mucus. It's mucus, and it's kind of like, it's sticky, and the invader gets trapped in there, and it can't get into the cell. Because what happens is when it gets into the cell, that's where these invaders are going to attack and start to cause the most damage. So we're trying to do everything we can to protect it from getting into there. So it's going to be trapped into those membranes and stop it from there. Now, the membranes around our GI system, our gut, is where in our gut is where most of our immune system resides. So having a healthy barrier is critically important to also maintaining the health of our overall immune system so that it continue to function and it cannot be under attack itself. So now we have something we call cell level response. So the cell level response is basically, it's the way the cell responds to an attack. It's a chemical barrier. So it's going to do what it can to basically protect the cell from the invader to get into that cell and into the internal area of the cell, which then will degrade the cell functioning as well as the organ functioning, and it will stop it from growing. So these chemicals are going to try and kill it there. So we have multiple steps along the way where there's stop points before it actually gets into the cell to start to replicate. So the next thing we can talk about is what I like to call is the early warning signals, and that's inflammation. So one of the things we've heard a lot about is called the cytokine storm, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But basically, it's inflammation gone wild. That's what cytokine storm is. The inflammation has gone so out of control that it's not stopping, and it's destroying the functioning of the organisms and the body and the organs. So inflammation is normal. Inflammation is healthy. Inflammation is what we want, but we want it to be there, get inflamed, deal with the problem, and then go away. So what happens is when we have inflammation, the whole goal of inflammation is to basically either eliminate an infection or to hold something in check until the body can get up the defenses in order to deal with it. Two things. Inflammation is either going to eliminate it, the infection, or is going to hold it. And what happens is, as you know, when you're inflamed, you have pain, you have swelling, you have redness and fever. Well, all these things are induced by these, what we call macrophages. Macrophages is like, think about a Pac-Man coming and eating that, getting that invader out of there. So you can see inflammation is good and important because it's either going to kill it or it's going to help the body deal with it by holding it at bay so that we can find a defense. But when it gets out of control, that's when we have a problem. So now we have our second line of offense. We had innate immunity. Now we have acquired immunity. Now, acquired immunity is we get that through exposure to infection or disease, or from another person's antibodies, which is basically is an indicator that they've had a particular virus or bacteria. And it's almost like a vaccination. If we get their antibodies, then our body thinks, oh yeah, I know that invader, I can fight it off. So one of the things that's a problem with us staying at home and secluded from everybody else is basically our acquired immunity is kind of sitting on the couch, not doing much, because we're in the same environment, dealing with the same things, the same people, and we're going to see later more about the acquired immunity and why being in the same environment is not a good thing. So there's a downside to being secluded in the sense that once we get out there, now all of a sudden our body's going to be experiencing things we haven't experienced in a while. So we're going to need to do what we can to support our immune system now so that when we get out, we're ready to deal with it. So the acquired immunity is basically when we contract, we basically get a disease and we survive. That's acquired immunity. So people will get something, they'll get it, and then they'll never get it again. That's acquired immunity. So, and the reason we won't get it again is because it's almost like I look at it like a bouncer. in a bar. So the bouncer knows there's a guy who caused trouble, and this bouncer is going to be on the lookout for that guy. And basically, he is going to get him out of there. And that's exactly what the body does. The body knows when it has been invaded by a particular virus or bacteria, it's going to recognize it. And it's going to say, oh, I know what that is. I seen it. I recognize it. I know exactly how to, I know exactly their weak point, and I'm going to get them. And I'm going to get rid of them. So that's basically acquired immunity. Now, acquired immunity needs something called lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are special white blood cells that help to deal with an invader. Now, for those of you who don't know, acupuncture can actually increase white blood cell count by up to 60% within 2 to 3 hours after treatment. So to increase immunity, one of the things you do is get acupuncture treatments. So these lymphocytes, where do they come from? They originate from the bones, from the stem cells in the bone marrow. And there's T cells and there's B cells, which are different types of lymphocytes. And they basically recognize and eliminate any kind of foreign modules, or like I call foreign invaders. So receptor molecules. So lymphocytes are a little bit different than other cells in the fact that they're able to recognize foreign molecules, unlike other portions of the blood. And they do this by what they call receptor molecules. You see kind of like there's these little holes here. So this is consider this kind of like a lock. And then there's a foreign molecule that will lock into this little lock, and it's like the key. So when they bind together, so the foreign molecule the key goes into the lock, and it becomes what is called an antigen. And that's where, viruses, bacteria, even dust and pollen actually will go in and lock into that lymphocyte. And it will be called an antigen. And that's the way if they look into your blood and they see that, they know, oh yeah, you've had it before. You've had X, Y, and Z disease. So I touched on this earlier, is record keeping. The body has a way of knowing every microbe it has ever encountered and defeated. And that's pretty amazing, considering even though we don't have any clue as to how many we have encountered in our lifetime or even in a given day, the body does. The body has a total record for the first second we were on this earth. When we were first born, it starts keeping records. Now, some infections like the flu and common cold, which are COVID viruses, you have to fight them all many times, because what I like to say is those particular viruses are shady little guys. They basically, what they do is they come in and the body fights it off, and then it goes off and puts a different mask on. So when it comes back into the body, it's a different strain and it looks different to the body. So the body basically says, I don't know what that is. I got to fight it again. And sometimes you can't fight it, so therefore you get a cold. Now, how many times have you heard of people who get a flu shot, yet they still get the flu? Well, it's because it's a different strain, and that's the problem. So when they talk about actually getting a vaccination for the COVID-19 virus, I kind of wonder if that's even possible, because again, viruses are very tricky and they mutate very easily. Even a subtle change will look like something different when it enters the body. So the question is, we have this acquired immunity, and how do we get it? Well, basically it's dictated by what we're surrounded by, our surroundings. Do we have a dog? Do we have a cat? Do we live in the country? Do we live in the city? Do we live around very highly pollinated areas? Do we live on a farm? Are we exposed to animals? Are we exposed to smoke? Flowers? What is our environment like? Do we have a lot of dust? All this is going to affect and change our immunity. So basically, a lot of times people will go to a new area of the country and they'll have terrible allergies. And what happens is when they have these allergies, it's because they've never been there before. They haven't acquired that immunity. Now, the next thing you know, they come back, they go off, they're on vacation, they leave, they come back a year later, and guess what? They don't have a problem. They've acquired the immunity against the substances that were in that area when they were visiting. So, as I said, the immune system, our acquired immunity, is really driven by our environment. So it's going to vary different by person. Two people living in the same house are still going to have very different uh, acquired immunity because of the fact that they had different lives before they lived together. What they're saying now is that basically 60 to 80% of the differences between individual immune system is based upon where and with whom we live, and the rest is genetics. So most of our immune system is acquired. And that's why I say it's so, the downside to staying at home is that we're not acquiring any immunity. And we're really basically, our acquired immune system's like saying, okay, I'm on vacation for a while. I don't really have to do much. I've seen this, I've heard this, I've done this. I got nothing to do now. So now we mentioned earlier, overactive immune system. Well, the overactive immune system can cause things like allergies and autoimmune diseases. It could be allergies to foods, medications, stinging insects, asthma, hives, and then onto the autoimmune diseases. It's multiple sclerosis, autoimmune thyroid disease, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. So basically, it's the immune system is not stopping. The immune system should be like the Navy SEALs. It should get in, identify its target, take it out, and get out. And that's what the immune system should do. Very, very quick. It should not go on and on and on and on and on and keep trying to fight. Because when it starts to fight overboard and getting overactive, it will actually start fighting the body and start destroying and attacking the body itself. And that's obviously a big problem. So now we have the opposite, which is under an active immune system, and that's an immunodeficiency. So immunodeficiency can be caused by various medical treatments, such as chemotherapy. Patients who come to me with who have been undergoing chemotherapy, their immune system is so deficient. They cannot fight off much. Or you can get immunodeficiency issues through having like a disease like HIV or AIDS. So the bottom line is the immune system you want it to be in balance. You want it to be in harmony, all the parts working together, all the pieces of the puzzle working together. And you want it to be in balance so that it's not too strong, but it's not too weak either. And so the way we talk about is what can we do, to help our immune system? And lifestyle is really something that's very safe that everyone can do. Everybody can take some of these things that I'm going to talk about next and do them in order to improve their immune system very, very safely without any concern of getting it to be overactive. Because, you can't pump up your immune system too much because it can get out of control. So you got to be careful. It's all about balance. So some immune boosting tips. Don't smoke. Eat a diet high in fruits and vegetables. Exercise regularly. Maintaining a healthy weight. Drinking alcohol in moderation. Getting adequate sleep. But it's not only adequate sleep, it's actually good quality sleep. So the proper amount of REM sleep, the proper amount of deep sleep, and a good balance between those two. You should be doing 3 cycles a night, and each cycle is about 90 minutes. So from going from light to deep sleep to REM sleep and then cycling again. And the last one is trying to minimize stress. So diet and immune and how the diet can help with your immune system. They've shown time and time again that malnourished people are more vulnerable to infectious diseases. Elderly people are more prone to getting infectious diseases also. Part of the reason why elderly people have a problem with their immune system is because they're not getting the proper nutrients to actually support their immune system. They eat less food, they eat less variety, and they basically can't, most elderly people don't have enough hydrochloric acid to actually break down the food enough so that when it gets into the small intestines and it's absorbed into the body, it actually can be utilized properly. So you can have many micronutrient deficiencies, and that could negatively impact your immune system and your immune response. So one of the things I recommend for everybody is a multivitamin. It's a very simple way, because even if we ate the best diet in the world, we're eating all organic, everything's good. The bottom line is we're not getting the variety. We typically, I know for myself, I typically have the same stuff over and over again because it's what I like. I'm not going to go off the ranch and, go off and find mushrooms and go here and do this. I'm just not going to do it. I try, but I'm not as religious as I should be. So as a result, that variety gives you different micronutrients and different vitamins and minerals that will help support your body's functioning as well as your immune system. So the way to get that is through, like I said, a multivitamin. The other problem with the food quality is you really don't know what you're getting. It could say, okay, this particular eggplant should have X, Y, and Z vitamins and minerals, but you don't know really what's in there. With the quality of the food these days, it's a big question mark in my mind. So again, supporting the body with multivitamin is a great start. Stress. It's all around us, and it doesn't seem to stop. And stress, when we're under stress, our immune system is again downregulated. It's not working at peak performance. And so we have to really think about stress. We have not evolved past the caveman in terms of how we deal with stress. When the caveman was out, he was either being chased by the tiger, and he was either going to kill the tiger or he's going to be killed by the tiger. And the body responded to that stress to prepare it to either attack or to run like crazy to get away. And our body has not changed. So we're not being chased by any tigers nowadays. We're being chased by other kinds of tigers. The news. If you watch the news and you hear, oh, this many people died of the COVID-19, and oh, we've been extended for another month, and oh, and here in this nursing home, so many people have the virus. That in and of itself is going to stress you out, and that is downregulating your immune system. It could be the fact that you're not working, the fact that you can't go out, the fact that, domestic violence has increased dramatically during the time when everybody's under, staying confined, so that's another issue. So whether it be a quote unquote real stress that you can actually see and touch, or it could be your own mental stress, your own concerns, ruminating about the fact that, oh my gosh, maybe I could get this, oh, my kids could get this, whatever. So I'm glad they removed the 40-minute limit. So anyways, it's, and our body reacts exactly the way that the caveman's body did. And we basically, our immune system is downregulated. When the caveman was being chased by a tiger, or it was being, so it was either going to run or kill that tiger. It didn't have time for digestion. It didn't have time for immunity. It didn't have time, because it may not be alive tomorrow. It did not have time for procreation. None of those things are important when you're under attack. So stress, finding things to eliminate stress, whether it be reading a book. I always recommend everybody should laugh. There's so many funny videos out there nowadays that you can't help but get a good laugh about it. And that can help to relieve the stress that we all are living under in this time, in this time of our life. So in terms of support, the first thing is this orthobiotic. That's going to increase that mucosal membrane in our GI system. So our internal defense, this is what's going to help it. It's going to, so as a result, it increases our immune system. It helps our immune system do its job. So that's a blocking strategy. Kind of an offensive line is Mitocor. Mitocor is a extremely powerful multivitamin. And the reason it's so powerful is because it actually adds support for all the energy power plants in our cells. So it helps the cells work better, which help the organs work better, which help them do their job better. So our body runs more efficiently and the immune system is going to run more efficiently. The last part is the tackle part. So when we do have inflammation, again, inflammation is there for a reason. It's either going to kill off the invader or it's going to keep things at bay in order while the body is trying to build up a defense. Then what this does is actually help to balance out that inflammation so that it does not get out of control. So it tackles that inflammation. So these are 3 things that I would highly recommend, especially now during this time of with the COVID-19, while we're inside the houses, our homes, and when we finally get to go out. So you can order all these things on, right, go to our website, just select shop, and you could actually order the products through our Wellevate store. Another things people are doing is they're going through and we do a personalized immune improvement plan, and we use the Zyto technology. You can do that remotely, or you can do it in our office. So what that does is it identify the organs and glands that may be stressed, and we can focus on just the immune system, or we can focus on the whole body. So you can do a lot of different things with this to help identify the best supplements, or the supplements that are best for you. So just as your immune system is unique to you, so as your supplement plan should be. And this can help us do that in the best way possible. And also the least cost or the most cost effective way. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you learned a few things. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, or you can also, email me. You can stop by the clinic, or you can call the clinic, and I'd be happy to, help you out in any way I possibly can. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And like I said, I'll as long as we can have more time, I'd be happy to stay on and answer any questions if anybody has any. So I'll leave it up to you guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
Janine,
Yes.
this is Jackie. So in other words, you think that we should be not staying at home, we should be opened up?
Well, I think there's a downside to being confined. And I mentioned, I went through that here.
Yes.
And I think personally, I think we have to be, again, there's a balance with everything. I don't think we should be hiding, but I also don't think we should go out there and pretend there's nothing there either. There's a balance.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I just worry about the implications when we're staying in this environment where it's the same, and we're building up no immunity at all to anything.
Yes, especially doing another month.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's going to drive everybody nuts too.
Besides that, yeah, that is so true. I had another question too about the REM sleep and the deep sleep.
Yes.
Most of my sleep is light sleep. So do you have any recommendations?
So we have we have a number of different herbal sleep aids that can help with sleep. Are you tracking it somehow? Are you using some type of tracker to tell you what it is?
A Fitbit.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, we do have different aids, whether it be, melatonin, you could take theanine. There's lots of different options. We have some combinations that are really good. And, but I can tell you one thing is for me personally, when I got my gut in order, my sleep improved drastically.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. I can't even begin to tell you. So many things changed when I finally got my everything like rolling.
Uh-huh. That's what I'm working on it. Well, I've been working on it for a long time too.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So if you need any help, I'd be happy that you could come in and we can sit down and we can kind of, do a Zyto would be a good way to identify those things that would be best suited for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or anything?
Hey, Janine, it's Callie. If we
Hi,
were going to do, hi, nice to hear from you. It was great. It was a great presentation. If we were going to, there's so much information now and I'm overwhelmed. I'm sure a lot of people are. If you were going to recommend it like this one thing, what would you suggest we do?
One thing to do or one thing to take or?
Either one, take, do. What is this? There's so much information. I want to go out and run. I want to drink moderately. I want to come to get acupuncture. I want to take vitamins. I want to do. I'm just trying to think, how do I prioritize all that has been recommended for me to be healthy now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think what you do is you take one thing at a time. I mean, if I were to do something, I would say the first thing I would do is probably take Mitacor. Just take Mitacor, and that's at least establishing an internal foundation. And then, okay, so that's pretty easy to do. You could take a pill. Take a couple pills a day. That's fine. And then what you can do is say, okay, well, how can I put this in? I mean, the stress reduction is probably the next thing I would say on the list is managing stress, because stress is always the straw that breaks the camel's back. And think about all the people you see that have a sick spouse or parent, and they do fine. They tolerate everything great, and the person dies, passes away, and then they fall apart. They get a disease. There's something always happens. And that's because the body knows it has to deal with that stress. It has to survive. It will survive. And then its defenses are down and poof, done. So dealing with stress is probably the next thing I would say. And the way I personally measure stress is I use a Oura ring. It's OURA. You could look it up online. And I measure my deep sleep. I measure my REM sleep. It's by far the most accurate measurement. It's like 99%. If you were to do a sleep study, the results you get on your Oura ring are about 99% of what you'd see in your sleep study. So it's very, very accurate. And you can see your heart rate variability. That is, to me, a key indicator. The higher your heart rate variability is, the healthier you are. So that's how you deal with stress. You can see how you deal with stress with your sleep too.
Great,
and as a reflection of your heart rate variability.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys? Well, if there's nothing else, again, I'm here at the clinic. My hours are a little bit different. You can call the clinic and you'll hear our hours, but they vary a little bit because of obviously the environment we're living in. So if we're not there and we say we should be there, or you think we should be there, then just leave a message and we will get back to you. We do get their messages on our cell phone, so we can get back to you as soon as possible. And I'd be happy to help you in any way we can. And we'll probably be doing these now that I've gotten over my fear of doing a Zoom meeting. We'll probably be doing these more regularly. Probably once a month, we'll try something, some different type of webinar. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. So thank you guys. Have a great evening. And I look forward to seeing one and all of you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I gotta learn how to do this.